Hi. Hello, hello. I am super stoked to show up today and help answer a question that has been brought up from a member of my free Facebook group called Embodied Leaders Movement. And oh my gosh, like it was just so juicy. And I'm just like, yes, like this is the core question that has been answered time and time again throughout my life in various ways. And I'm just like, you know what? This is what excites me. This is what really starts to make sense, even though it may seem like an intangible answer. Actually, there are ways to experience it and practice it and have it influence our lives. And with so much to do and loads of information out there, this one practice can be carried through it all and ultimately make the deepest impact, not only in yourself and your life, but also in the world and how you show up in the world too. So, in case you don't know me, I'm Cynthia Gutierrez, and I love to help spiritual people who wish to dance more reconnect with themselves and align to a higher way of being so that they can co-create a life that they envision. And I love doing that through creative movement, through conscious embodiment, and sacred practices. If you don't already follow me, you're welcome to follow Instagram, Embodied Ritual on Instagram, as well as subscribe to the YouTube channel where you can tune into the newest videos. All right, so I just really like this question and was so glad that it was brought up because it really resurfaced a lot of the same message that was carried through from different mentors, different guides, different teachers, and experiences and studies that I have had in my life. And it really traces back to my dance career, my dance study in university. And it was the turning point where I was practicing dance for the fun of it and the technique of it. But once I started going into this whole field of somatic work and embodiment, even though embodied and embodiment was never a term used in my university, I just want to pay respects to my teachers who have introduced me and helped guide me through various somatic practices like Jess Humphrey and Leslie Sliders. They really helped me kind of reawaken within myself. And also, soon after I graduated, I started going down my spiritual path. And Athena Parakis has kind of brought up this importance of embodiment throughout her spiritual teachings. And so I just want to like bow my head to her. And then, eventually I found Jim Fortin, who really drives this concept home that we're going to be diving into today. And then, eventually I found Makosi of the Royal Shaman, who really also highlights this important concept. And now that I'm making my way through my work in the embodiment field with Mark Walsh and his currently in the foundation of embodiment course, I am now seeing this same concept, the same practice, the same idea and way of being to really hone in and center in on this one practice, this one thing that you can do to make a difference, not only with yourself in your own life, but also in relation to the people around you, to your culture, to your environment, to the communities, to the world. And so, yeah, this number one thing all comes down to developing your awareness of how you are and who you are being so you can choose to be as you wish. Okay. So I'm really going to be driving this home about being aware of who you are so that you can continue on with how you want to be. Yeah. And, with this concept of being aware of who you are, right? How you are and who you are as a person. Um, why does knowing who you are being matter so much, right? Like, why does this make such a difference? That I would, say, what, if you continue with this through the rest of your life, it will honestly change not only your own life, but all of those that are in contact with you, and can have this ripple effect throughout the world. Well, if we were to look at the opposite end of the spectrum, right, where we are not aware of who we are and how we're being, we may end up finding ourselves feeling disconnected, right? Disconnected from ourselves, disconnected from the world, disconnected even from our closest family members, right? Or even that feeling of disconnection, even when we're surrounded by people. You may end up feeling like you aren't aware of your patterns, right? You're not really aware of these habitual tendencies that we may have, and also may not even be honest of how we're actually feeling. And the thing about all of this is that it can really lead to us feeling numb or doing things to become numb, as well as seeking change, but not really being able to follow through and experience the change. This can also help, or can also lead you to feel unsatisfied with life, right? Or you may be like holding back on your dreams, or you have no clue of what it is that you truly want. And so when we become disconnected and unaware of ourselves and how we're feeling, it's really easy to feel overwhelmed with the state of the world, right? I mean, let alone like overwhelmed with our own lives and our own things that we got going on. But once we start getting into like our, our relatives, our communities, the world, our country, all of this, like it has become so easy to be kind of be at the throes of our circumstances and what's happening throughout the world. And of course, we had a huge, huge blow last year in 2020 with not only like, quarantine happening, but also with the Black Lives Matter movement and so many other things, right? It's just like being disconnected from ourselves and at the throes of all of this, it becomes really difficult to regulate ourselves, right? It becomes really difficult to help come back to ourselves, to take care of our energy and have some kind of mental health, in even at a neutral state, right? And when we're in this place where we can't even regulate our own selves, you can see where this is going, right? Like we're more prone to intense stress, to anxiety, and depression. And so with all of this, right? Like even regardless of what's happening in the world, whether it's positive or negative, your presence automatically makes an impact no matter what. Okay, at a higher level, we are all connected and we all are affected by one another, right? And not even just like person to person, but from the animals, right? They have consciousness, from plant life, from the environment. The toxicity or the health of our environment affects us and we affect it, obviously. And so your state of being certainly makes a difference, right? Whether you're in a place that is positive or negative, whether you are thriving or hardly surviving, your state of being affects everything and everyone. And it directly impacts it as well. And even though it may be hard to kind of see that direct impact sometimes, it is without a doubt. And even when we are in a place where we're like really, let's say, well resourced, and we can actually see like, oh, actually, I'm in this kind of a more of a calm state, and I can see how the way that I show up and the way that I hold space for people actually makes a difference, right? It's much easier to see that and notice these um, subtle effects that we have on each other and the world. So this is why it matters to know who you are being, because when you're aware of how you are and who you're being, you're then able to choose how to move forward, right? Because when we come into a place where we have that choice and we're kind of in a place where we're not either like hyper vigilant or like so depressed and kind of shrinking down, or in that freeze mode, right? We're in a well-resourced place to make a choice, and the more choices that we make leads to more freedom in our lives, right? And we're able to then influence and impact the world around us in a way that we envision. Yeah, your vision, your dream, the outcome in which that you seek is so important, because then you are able to choose things that will align you to these outcomes, to these dreams, to these visions that you hold within you. And so when we experience, express, and share the wisdom that has been passed down to us, even from Gandhi, right, of being the change that you wish to see in the world, you then become that living example for others so they can learn and be blessed by your presence in this way of being. Yeah. And so to be connected with yourself and aware of your patterns and be able to acknowledge how you're actually feeling, right? How you then are in a place where you have a greater capacity to meet your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual needs, right? You're then able to disrupt old patterns and instill new beneficial habits that you want in your life. You also gain clarity on what your values are and what's truly important to you. And this, when you become really clear with what you value and what's truly important to you, this then kind of leads you on a path of leadership, of showing up and being like, you know what, this is what I value, this is what's important, and so I'm dedicating myself to this, and I prioritize this in my life, right? And that really comes from that kind of empowered leader state. And so also you are available to then dream and go for what's deeply calling you. Yeah, you have a greater capacity to actually not only just be in touch with yourself, but be in touch with what turns you on, what makes you happy, what excites you, yeah, what lights you up. And so when you start to experience that more and more, then you are then able to then dream up of something that may not even exist yet, or that you haven't even experienced yet. But, there are plenty of examples throughout the world that certain things are possible. Or there are plenty of things throughout the world that that seemed impossible in the past, but people defied that, right? Or they proved that wrong. Like, hey, actually, this is possible. And if we open up to our creativity and get in touch with our with that creativity and our desires and our passions and our interests, then it leads the way. It opens the door, right? And so last thing I want to say is that this also leads you to show up in a way that's in alignment with what you seek. Okay. And I know alignment is like, it's a really important word, but it's also trending, right? To be in alignment and align to this and align to that. And what I really want to highlight about alignment is this idea of having a match in frequency, right? To align to something, to sync with something. And so what's really, what's a great thing to know about frequency is that frequency can lead you to the particular vibration that it derives from. And that vibration, if we are to apply it to ourselves, will point you to the type of emotion that you're experiencing, right? And your emotions are directly impacted by your thoughts that you are having. Okay. And the one way that you can get a clue on what kind of thoughts that you're having is to be aware of your body and to observe how you're being. Yeah. So your state of being is influenced by your body set. There's a lot of people that also say mindset. There's a body set, there's an embodiment that we have. So when we pay attention to the body, we are aware of, we become more aware of the thoughts that we are having simultaneously, which then influences our emotions and sets the vibration of the frequency that we are holding. And that frequency can let you know whether what you are in alignment to. Even if you may, okay, so you can be, aligned to something that maybe you're like, I'd rather not have this. I'd rather not be this angry, right? Or I really don't want to experience this jealousy, but here it is, right? And it's okay. It's good to have that awareness of your frequency, of that way of being. Because once you become aware, like I said, you then have the opportunity to choose something different, right? To shift your frequency so that your vibration can adjust and you change your emotions, which then affect your thoughts and can influence the body and just shift your way of being. Yeah. And so, yes, paying attention to how you are being can make the ultimate difference and can be tied in to everything that you do, right? And the thing is, some people like to change what they're doing, right? Like, oh, I want to meditate, or I want to do yoga, or I want to eat healthy, right? But notice if in meditation, are you like, stop thinking, stop thinking, stop thinking, right? In this kind of like constrictive, like authoritarian, like behave kind of way? Or are you chopping your, okay, one thing that I do is chopping my vegetables. I'm clenching my jaw sometimes. In the past, I'll say, to help rewire this pattern, right? In the past, I've noticed myself chopping vegetables in a way that's like tense. My jaw's clenched. I'm holding my breath practically. My breath is shallow. And so I'll notice, how am I being when I am doing this? When I'm chopping vegetables? When I'm doing yoga? Am I like, want to get it perfect? Okay, like, oh, no, don't fall off balance. How are you being when you are doing things? Because as Jim Fortin has said, the doing is only as good as the being doing the doing. And so, how do you show up? How are you present with your family? How are you in the creative practices that you have? How are you being? Yeah, what is that emotion, the energy, the frequency that you're holding? And you can look to your body. Are you clenched? Are you open? Yeah, are you contracted? Are you expansive? Or somewhere in between? And so I'm sure you can, this sounds good and all, right? Like it makes sense. Yet how? Because even though we can say, oh, just pay attention to who you're being or change how you're being, right? A lot of people say, you got to embody this thing that you want. Yeah, this person that you want. You got to embody this persona or whatever. But how? And so I want to share this 3-step practice, right? And it was very influenced. It came first when I noticed like this step-by-step process from Mark Walsh's book, Embodiment, Moving Beyond Mindfulness, I believe. And so this is really influenced by that. And so this is a 3-step practice that you can do to shift your way of being, right? To become aware of how you're being, to accept how you're being, and to choose a different way of being. Okay. Now, before I share these 3 steps, I just want to let you know, please don't have this be a practice where you are disregarding your feelings. Okay. It's very important to acknowledge your feelings and to tend to your emotions. Allow yourself to move through your feelings. This isn't a practice for you to disassociate with, right? Or what do I say, like bypass, right? This isn't being like, oh, I really don't want to feel that. This is not how I want to be. So I'm going to do something else and pretend like, sometimes it's really important to have that good cry. Yeah. Sometimes I am so angry that it's best and most beneficial for me to start punching some pillows or screaming into some pillows so that I can get that prominent emotion out of my system. So then I can say, oh, okay, whew. Now that I've moved through that, it's time to bring it all home, to bring it back in, rein in my energy, shift my attention inward. Yeah, so that I can make space and reconnect with myself. So please don't disregard the importance of feeling your feelings and moving through your emotions. Okay, that's really important. And again, this isn't a distraction from what's really going on. Okay, don't use it as a disassociative. And at the same time, this can be a way to help acknowledge what you're actually feeling. Yeah. So just be mindful, be aware, observe how, you may be going about it. And hey, if you may be finding yourself escaping from something, it's all good. We've all done it. And sometimes I'm going to let you know, some people will say, oh, disassociating is a bad thing, right? Like actually, depending on the situation, our body's natural response to disassociate may actually be the best thing for us in the moment. Depending on what it is, if it's extreme, right, that could cause trauma, it's actually really important and essential for a body to be able to disassociate. But staying in that disassociated state and fleeting from yourself in times when there is no emergency happening, that's when it's detrimental. Yeah. Okay, so let's get into this. The 3-step process to shift your way of being. Number 1 is to become aware of how you are. Yeah. Become aware of how you are as a body. So notice how you can do this with me even as you're listening to this. Now, if you're driving, please be mindful. I probably would not advise you to do this when you're driving because it does, especially if you haven't done this before, you're new to this, and especially like the practice of embodiment, then yeah, I would suggest you do it in a place where you're not like moving a bunch of machinery. Okay, so step 1, become aware of how you are. Yeah. With your sensations, with your feelings, with your emotions. Yeah, notice the state that your body is in. And so you're welcome to close your eyes when you do this. And just even you can do a body scan, like, oh, my head, like right now, my head, actually the crown of my head feels a little tingly, maybe a little congested. Right now, my jaw and like my neck is pretty open, actually. I'm very expressive right now and have been for the past 20 minutes. And so you can go down the body of like, oh, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that. I actually feel really inspired right now, kind of an emotional state, right? Or I could be feeling really sad right now. And you don't have to get into the story of it, just become aware of it, acknowledge it. Yeah. And once you are aware of how you're feeling, then you can move on to step 2, where you accept what is happening right now. Okay. I feel sad right now. And you know what? It is that's what it is. That's how I am right now. I feel sad and I feel a little like heavy in the heart, right? And it's okay. I acknowledge that I feel sad. Yet, is it helpful or hurtful for me to feel sad right now? Yeah. Like, do I need to go process my sadness and really get the tears flowing? Or actually, you know what? I've like moved on from this thing that happened yesterday and I don't need to feel sad anymore. Like it's actually not helpful. It's more hurtful. Yeah. So you can kind of discern. It's up to you. It's all situational. We all experience emotions different way and it can be suitable for us in different ways. So step 2, accept what is happening and acknowledge, discern if it's helpful or hurtful for you. And then step 3 is to choose how you wish to be. Yeah. And so if, let's say, you're happy and it's like, yeah, actually, I feel really good. I feel really content and it's really helpful right now. Like I'm going to just ride this on and just kind of bring that happiness into my belly, bring it into my legs, or yeah, maybe I can share this happiness with somebody else and show up in this happiness and being happy. And call a relative. Like it may be happening at a grocery store. Hey, give a compliment. Yeah. If you're sad and you're ready to move past it, how can you change your being um to then shift out of that sadness? Now you can change your breath. Maybe you're kind of fearful. Like before I went live, I was like, you know what? Like I'm feeling kind of nervous actually. I hadn't been live in a little while. And, I've been doing a lot of things behind the scenes, but now I'm kind of showing up again. And I was a little nervous. I was like, okay, like, is this nervousness serving me? No, not really. But there is excitement under there. Yeah. So the nervousness, I'm going to let it go back. You know what? I got this. It's all good. Like, this is what I want to do, and I'm happy to do it. And it's a pleasure to show up in this way. So I'm going to let the nervousness take a step back. And sometimes I even use my body. I'll be like, okay, nervousness, I'm going to place you over here for now. Yeah. Or I'm going to put you in my back pocket. Okay. And I'm going to allow this excitement to surface up, to be at the forefront. Yeah. And so you can use your breath. You can deepen your breath if you're feeling anxious or stressed. You can bring in some positive thoughts or encouraging thoughts, or more compassionate thoughts. Yeah. You can change your posture, especially after so much time of us spending on our phones like this, like, change the posture. Yeah. You can kind of shift your emotions of like, you know what, I was feeling sad, but there's so much for me to be grateful for. And like, oh my gosh, how beautiful. My partner like brought me flowers today. Like, let's go, smell the flowers. Right. You can even change your location. Right. So if you need to get out of a situation, you're like, this is a little uncomfortable, I'm going to go in this other room, or I'm going to go now. Like that can help too. Yeah. Or another example is I want to exercise more. Right. And so I'm changing my way of being of someone that is feeling a little more sluggish and have all the excuses to not exercise, to a point where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be aware of how I am. Right. Oh, my cat came out the window. I'm being aware of how I'm feeling. I'm feeling kind of sluggish, and I know that I want to exercise more, but there's something telling me like, nah, no, I can accept what's happening. I accept like, I have this like troll on my shoulder being like, no, how about we don't? But is that serving me? No, because I want the outcome. I want the vision of vibrant physical health. Yeah. And so, okay, troll, like I see you. You used to be helpful sometimes, but now it's all good. I got this. Yeah. Place that over here. And then choose the way that I want to be. Choose being in alignment, changing my frequency, my emotions, my thoughts, my way of being to someone that values health. Yeah. And so I may shift. You know what? I'm going to change my location. I'm going to go to living room, grab my yoga mat, pull it out, go for it. Yeah. Encouraging thoughts, all of that. I may even reach out to a support group if that's what's necessary. Yeah, I'm sure you get the point. Okay. Now, one thing I'm going to say here is that it's really, really helpful. And I suggest doing this practice daily as a routine. Okay. As well as, so doing this practice daily as a routine, you can set an alarm, right? Just to kind of get in the habit of it, because repetition, that's how the subconscious mind will rewire habits. And also to do this in small doable ways that you wish to change, right? So like, let's say me wanting to show up live today. Well, a part of me was nervous and like almost didn't want to, but I was like, hey, you know what? No, like this is part of my vision and I love this. And I want to help people. So this is doable, right? I'm not in like a, time sensitive thing. And you know what I mean? Like, there aren't things that need my attention right now. So I took a moment to myself, took care of that, and here I am. And so, that's up to you how you want to plan that out. Like, let's say, I'll just leave it at that. So as you continue to keep this practice consistent, all of your micro shifts will accumulate to macro changes. Okay. Don't underestimate the micro. Everyone notices. Okay. Not only will you build that sense of self-trust for yourself to show up in a different way and to keep realigning yourself into this way of being that you envision for yourself. Not only will your self-trust and your confidence and competence build in this way, but also other people will receive the benefit of it too. Yeah, people notice, they can sense it, not just visually, but our bodies are like antennas. Yeah, when people are showing up in a way that they wish to be, people can sense that. And it can be inspiring, right? And so I just, yeah, super important. So Another point that I want to make is that the more aware you are of yourself, the more you begin to take in how everything has an impact on you too, right? Not just environmentally, but culturally and historically, right? Generationally. We are, no part of us here is made up of just ourselves, right? My hair came from a past relative. My eyes came from my mother. My heritage came from my ancestors. Yeah. So once you become aware of your multi-layered embodiment, you become aware of other people and you can either relate to them if you have similarities, right? Or you can understand them better in a more deeper and multi-layered way. And so, yeah, I think it's just really, really important. Yeah. You can show up in a way also that honors your values and takes action that is in relation to your vision. And, I've just been really driving that home. Because when you are able to show up in that way of being that you desire and that you wish for and you envision, it automatically brings your values to life. Yeah. And it's just so important. And it's why, it's so tied into the first pillar of embodied ritual that is dedicated to whole self love and care of the body, mind, and spirit, right? It's like these three aspects that make up who we are as human beings. And puts us in a place where we are actually prioritizing how we are, who we're being, and whether we are caring for ourselves and loving for ourselves and concerned enough for ourselves to make these changes and to give back to ourselves, our whole self in this way. So I went through a whole lot just now, and just to help start to close this up, I'm going to summarize a couple things. So the number one thing that you can do to make a difference is to be aware of who you are so you can continue on with how you want to be and how you want to impact the world. Don't underestimate the ripple effect of micro adjustments and personal relations. So even though we're shifting our way of being just with like the people we live with, that still makes a greater impact on the world. It has a ripple effect. And it's just as important as how we're showing up in community if we're leading people, in the public eye mostly. And the practice to shifting your way of being can be done in these 3 steps. Is to 1, become aware of how you are by sensing, feeling, stating emotions that you have or the state that you're in, and noticing like how the tension in your body or the fluidity in your body, right? Become aware of how you are. The second step is to accept what is happening and acknowledge it. Acknowledge and accept what is happening in the moment, as well as discern whether it's helpful or hurtful to you. And whether it's helpful or hurtful, you can then choose how you wish to be, and whether kind of amplify the thing that's helpful or to change and shift out of the thing that's hurtful. And you can do that with your breath. You can do that with your thoughts. You can do that with your posture, your emotion, your location. So that you adjust yourself with the thing that you desire, with your vision, with that outcome. Okay. And now you can make this simple practice part of your daily routine, because this is something, it's a skill. Okay. Embodiment, this embodied intelligence and understanding how you're being and how to adjust to a higher way of being. It's a skill and it takes practice. So you can make an alarm on your phone to do it. Right now, I'm doing it 5 times a day. And it's actually, the thing that I'm doing is actually more of a check-in. So I'm not really changing how I'm being. I'm just being aware of how I am. And eventually I'm going to, add layers onto it. But anyway, make an alarm on your phone, however many times you want. You can link it to a daily habit that you already have. So maybe after you're done getting ready for the day, before you actually go out doing errands or go to work, blah, 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 take 5 minutes. Make this a part of that period at the end of the sentence of getting ready for your day. Yeah. Or, before you do a big meeting, you can check in with yourself, adjust, right? That's what I did before this live. You could do it at the end of the day, however you want to do it. You can link it to habits that you already have. Another way is to do it in doable situations that's manageable to adjust. Okay. Like in the situations that you wouldn't do it would be like in an emergency, right? Or like, let's say, my daughter, like my daughter was at the park and she was on this ladder thing and it was at a funny angle and she got to the very top and there was kind of a bigger gap for some reason at the top. And she was trying to get over to the other side and I could just feel my body tensing because I was afraid that she was going to fall, right? And I'm just like, oh God, oh God. Now, one thing I would do is, be like, okay, it's going to be okay. I'm still like there, ready to catch her if she falls, but I'm not going to be like, so I did a micro adjustment, right? But I'm not going to be like, okay, close the eyes, everything's fine. Change my, how am I actually feeling right now? I'm not going to do that because that's kind of an important situation where I actually do kind of want to be on alert. But I can adjust the volume of alertness, right? So just, something to be aware of. Okay. Doing this practice in a manageable way that you can adjust yourself. Okay, so if you found this helpful and you'd like to do another free practice with me, you're welcome to get a free guided practice called Centered Within. It's a short and sweet guided practice that's going to help you let go of other people's energies, call yours right back in, and become ease yourself into a centered state. Yeah, you can access it with the link in the description of this video, or you can go to embodiedritual.com/CW, I believe. Yeah. So yeah, it was lovely. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what your thoughts are. And if you've heard this idea of knowing who you are being, yeah, being aware of who you are and how you are being. I'd love to know. So you're welcome to catch me on Instagram at Embodied Ritual and on YouTube. It was such a pleasure to share this time together. I hope to share more with you soon and take such great care. All right. Ciao.